young girl in that neighborhood. Well, our guest speaker today, Becky McCray, she's actually the creator of something you may have heard about. It's something called the Idea Friendly Method. And she's our guest. She started the Small Business Survival, what's the right word, project, business, entity. I mean, there's so many aspects to it. I'm not even sure how you package it all together. She started that in 2006 to share rural business and community building stories and ideas with other small business people. And so I think that it applies here to what we're talking about, and especially in our rural communities. Becky and her husband also run a small cattle ranch, and they're lifelong entrepreneurs. She's also an international speaker and on small business topics and rural topics related to neighborhoods and relationship building. So this is going to be an interactive session. It's going to be focused on taking action on your ideas in your community or in your neighborhood. So Becky, I know you're sought after and you have lots of speaking opportunities. Thank you for taking your time to be with us today, and I hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, David. I am excited to be here. I love the concept of neighboring. It fits so perfectly with one of our key tenets at Savior.town, which is that 99% of the best things you can do for your community don't require anyone's permission. So today, what we'll focus on are how to use the idea-friendly method to help you shape a better future for your community, even as we're facing the incredible changes in our society around us. So I do want to remind you to get your pen and paper or whatever you use to take notes so that you can be ready, because you will want to take notes. There are several times during my talk that I will prompt you with something to write, and then I will pause and give you time to at least jot a quick note. So we're going to jump right in with the story of Pullman, Washington, which is a town that had a dirty sidewalk problem. So they're kind of on a mountainous area. And so every time it rains, then dirt and leaves and trash wash up out of the streets and onto their sidewalks. And it's pretty messy. Now, at a meeting, they were talking about, we should do another cleanup day. But no one in the room got excited about that. And it was very contentious discussion as they finally said, oh, the chamber should take care of it. The chamber did the last one. Well, that I said they shouldn't do that. Don't pin it on somebody. But then from one corner of the room, a young woman named Willow, who is a business owner, put her hand in the air tentatively and said, I'll clean up my own sidewalk. And that was the starting point. And she did. She cleaned her own sidewalk. But how do you get from one person cleaning her sidewalk to a crowd of people cleaning up downtown on an ongoing basis, so you don't even need to keep scheduling cleanup days? Well, you do have to start by cleaning your own sidewalk. And then you can take pictures. You can put it on social media. You can hashtag it, clean your own sidewalk day, and invite everyone to join in. And then every time you clean your sidewalk, then you keep posting it and you hashtag it and you tag some friends and you make a big deal out of how anyone can do their sidewalk. And soon enough, someone will join you, and maybe a lot of someone's. And it worked in Pullman. Other merchants followed Willow's lead, and they all started sweeping their sidewalks on Wednesdays in the afternoons. And then the city joined in. And so now the city now sends around their street sweeper early Thursday mornings. Now Willow and the other people with their brooms in Pullman did not know it, but they were using the idea-friendly method. Now you start with your big goal for your community, the thing that you feel will improve quality of life. So that might be a clean and welcoming downtown. And then you use that goal to gather your crowd. So go clean your sidewalk. And then you turn your crowd into a powerful network by building connections. Who else could we reach out to? And then you and your newly powerful network, you accomplish that goal by taking small steps. Go get your broom. So what I would love for you to do right now is to make a note of your big idea. What is your neighboring project? And if you don't have one, then think about how you would finish these two sentences. You might write something about if our town had, or if our town was. And I'd love for you to write that down before we go any further. That could be as short as one word or sentence. And if you'd like to, you can put it in the chat box, and we would love to share those, because that'll give me more ideas to talk about as we go along. And if you're brave enough to share your idea, then you get the benefit of, like, I'll try to help you with your idea as we go along. Okay, and I see some ideas in the chat here, so let me open up my chat. April says, I think it would be difficult to neighbor in a rural community. Oh, let me tell you, rural communities are great places to neighbor. They really are. And April, I'm so glad you know Pullman, because like they're a hillside down. they are what? There's a big town, like there's a college and everything. There are tens of thousands of people, so they're kind of big. But I also want to add one more thing. Thank you, April, for jumping in the chat and being brave. And everybody, feel free to put to be all kinds of chatty in the chat. I love a good chatty. Ooh, so Shay's got an idea right here. If our town had an email event newsletter. All right, so we'll talk about these. Okay, what we'll start with, I shared with you the idea-friendly method in general. And so what we'll talk about is we're going to go through parts of the idea-friendly method, and we'll start with gather your crowd. And you gather your crowd with your big idea. So that's the thing that excites people and makes them feel like they can play a role in it. So an event newsletter may not be the thing that excites people, but really good turnout at our local events, or an active community with lots of events, or welcoming community events that draw people in, right? Like, so those are the parts that are getting more exciting. So while the email may be the way we get there, the big idea, the thing that excites people, is the stuff that's the exciting thing. So I will add, now, as I say, gather your crowd. Sometimes people get a little worried about that anymore. Obviously made that up pre-pandemic, but gathering your crowd could be online, or it could be small groups, or it can happen at different times. Like the clean your own sidewalk happens whenever you clean your sidewalk, and it's not a big group together. So I do want to say, in gathering your crowd, the old way to do that is to assign people to committees. And we have been training people to form committees to accomplish anything for more than 100 years now. But the new way, we have new tools available to us to organize people. And the new way to gather your crowd is to plant a flag that people can be drawn to, or share a big idea that will draw people in. Now, the State and Sublimity Chamber of Commerce in Oregon actually killed off their committees. They gather people only when they are needed, and they use their big goal. And Elena Turpin, who used to be with the chamber there, said they spent more time telling people how they make a difference in the community. She said, then your organization becomes a movement that people can get behind, and not just another volunteer opportunity. See, if Willow and Pullman had tried to convince everyone in that meeting room to change their minds, forget doing the cleanup day, let's all clean our own sidewalks, and then also convince the city rep that was there, and you should change the schedule of the person that runs your street sweeper, and they should come on Thursdays in the early morning, every single person in that room would have resisted. But Willow didn't try to change their minds. Instead, Willow attracted them by stating her goal, taking her action, and making it easy to join in. So that's how you gather your crowd. You share your big idea. You can be conspicuous doing your thing in public, and then invite others to join you and make it really easy to join you. So I would love for you to think about, what would it look like if you had a crowd of people together doing those first small steps of your idea? So what is your clean your own sidewalk day version of your idea? So pick up your pen and write that down now.
This could be related to the community as a whole, or even more micro neighborhood.
Absolutely. Hey, whatever you are excited to think about today, that's what I'm excited to talk about again. Lydia, you asked about the small steps. I think you're asking about the parts of the idea-friendly method. I could be wrong, but I will just pop those on screen for you right quick. I actually have this in a late part of the presentation, but we can definitely put it up there right now. All right, so there they are. There's the 3 parts. And then the other thing that is up here, David says, who's this David guy? David says a neighborhood men's ping pong league, or something else that gets men together in fellowship, which I love the neighborhood men's ping pong league. So before it's a league, right? Like you can gather your crowd by putting that idea out there and say, you know, my big idea is our neighborhood men together in fellowship. And I'm starting Friday. Come over and see how ping pong works, right? Like, show up and see what happens, right? All right. So I'm gonna pause this slide for now. So
Becky, I have to tell myself I've settled on this ping pong idea because I've tried about 6 different other things that have had no interest, zero.
Yeah.
And I have another neighbor that brought up the idea of ping pong. So at least
there's
I thought one other person that's interested. Thought maybe.
Start there. Well, listen, when you have 2, wherever 2 are gathered, then that's good enough, right? Start there. Start with 2. So I think that's cool. I think that's cool. All right. So I do want to say this, which is sometimes people are worried because other people will not like their idea. So I want to point out, not everyone is going to agree. They're not all going to be attracted to your big idea, and that's okay. They were never going to help you anyway. You cannot lose people who were never yours, right? So the people who are going to oppose you, they're not your people. So instead of obsessing about changing other people, focus on taking your own actions and become a movement that people can get behind. So that is, all right, if you and the one other guy play ping pong on Friday, then that becomes a movement people can get behind. As long as you're still just talking about it, it's not a movement yet. So you gotta start with one other. All right, now I want to show you this because we know that not all of your neighbors are equally motivated by your idea or by any idea. And so this is something I really wish someone had taught me a long, long time ago, which this is the power law of how excited people will be about your idea or any idea. So I would love for you to actually draw this curve in your notes, however you're taking notes. See, there are a few people like you who are super excited, and then it tapers off from there. So you are the far left of this, the top part, right? Like you're the tall part. This is your motivation. It's really big. You're motivated by your idea, which is neighborhood men in fellowship, or an active community with lots of events that are well attended, or what was the other one? Somebody quick. Oh, anyway. All right. Or a clean and welcoming downtown, whatever your ideas are. So the problem is you're this motivated. The next most motivated person is where on this curve, right? They are, the next most motivated person is how far down the curve? Like the guy who said, hey, I'm interested in ping pong is like halfway down the curve, right? And then we've got a whole bunch of people out in the neighborhood who are like, well, we're kind of interested in some neighborhood fellowship, but not super motivated. Now, in the old way, like in committee world, you have to cut these people off because they won't come to your meetings. In today's world, with our tools that are available to us, we can include the people on the long tail because they can be interested in your idea. They can have low motivation and you can include them. And here's how that looks. Hold on here. This is how that looks. So if we flip the thing, then your high motivation becomes you're the foundation. Right? And then we can stack other people's less motivation on top of yours because we're not kicking them off because they're not part of the committee. They're not old way hierarchy. So we give people ways, small but meaningful ways to participate. Small but meaningful ways to participate. In today's online world, even clicking like or share contributes. So we don't have to cut people off anymore. And I do want to add one other thing that I think is relevant for today. And that is, I told my friend Rob about the Clean Your Own Sidewalk project. And then he told me early in 2022, after things started, you know, we're all wearing masks and so on. He said he was actually walking through his grocery store parking lot and saw a piece of trash. He said, now, normally I would pick that up, but now I don't know who's been touching that with their germs. And I get it, I do. But here's what I reminded Rob. I said, it's not clean up somebody else's parking lot day. It's clean your own sidewalk day. So start with your own corner of the neighborhood. And I think that's very much a neighboring kind of concept. So with these two curves in mind of using your motivation as the foundation and then giving people small but meaningful ways to contribute, what small but meaningful way can you give people to contribute to your idea? So let me go back through my stories here. So we've got the email event newsletter or events that people attend. And then we've got the neighborhood men's fellowship and ping pong, walking group or gardening group. I love these. I love both of these. David likes my chart. I stole that chart idea. Of course I stole it. Lydia's totally got it. Lydia is in on this. Maybe you don't want to play ping pong, but you want to watch. You want to bring snacks. You want to come chat with your neighbors while the guys play ping pong. You can laugh at the ping pong guys, right? Like that's obvious. April says, I want to do a national night out for our block. We've never participated. I know one of your upcoming speakers is going to talk about block parties, right? I saw that.
Yes.
So you guys this is great. I love all these ideas because these are such community-oriented ideas. So we talked about taking your small steps, or gathering your crowd with your big idea. So we want to build connections. Building connections is the essential point where it goes from David wants a men's fellowship group to there's a group of people playing ping pong in a garage with people chatting and kibitzing from the corners and a wonderful event going on. Now, the old way is kind of, I want to share two different concerts and talk about how you build connections differently. And the first one is one that happened at an agritourism business not very far from me here in Oklahoma. They connected to and brought in a couple of professional musicians for performances out at their agritourism farm. Now, these musicians were fairly well known. They had been on TV shows that you would recognize the names of. And so those farm owners put in a lot of work on the promotion, but turnout to the concert was not very good. Now, that's kind of old way, right? Like announce your concert and then people can participate by showing up. The new way of building connections is to create it together. So the second concert happened in Iowa. There was a young man of about 25 named Mike who walked into the Chamber of Commerce office and said, we need more live music in this town. Now, it just so happens my colleague Deb Brown was chamber director at the time, which is how I know this story. And she said, that's great. What are you going to do to create more live music? And that threw him because he assumed he could tell the chamber and they would do it. No, she spent time with him talking about building connections. Who are his friends who would participate with him and make it happen? What kind of event would they like and they be able to put together? And then what kind of equipment did they need? Where would they perform? Would it be inside? Would it be outside? Who's going to help them market the thing? So Mike went out and he chatted up his closest musical friends, and they decided open mic. That's the most community-oriented way we could do this. So Mike and his friends were the band for behind the performers, and they designed their own posters. They told everybody. And so the day of the concert, what they ended up with was 3 hours of music. So some people showed up with their lawn chairs and listened. Some people came on stage and sang or played and performed. One guy showed up from another town because he heard that they were doing this. And so he brought his lights. So they set up big lights so they could continue to have music even as the sun set. He was not asked to come, but he heard about it and thought he could help and then showed up. And then they did this over the summer more times. A local food place brought their grill and cooked and sold burgers. A local band that had moved to California and done well said they wanted to come back. So they asked to be paid. And so the chamber director, Deb, taught Mike how to find a sponsor for that part of the money. And then they just passed the hat for the rest of the money. So it was all about building the connections to find the people who had the things that they need, because community happens when people talk to each other. And people like to talk to each other. They like to talk online. They like to talk in person, and that's building connections. And that builds our social capital. And I don't have to explain all the great things that happen when we get people connected. So I would love for you to write down what way, kind of what's your option of open mic night? Like, what could you do that's going to actually make the thing happen, right? If we want to do National Night Out, can we start with, two families get together in a driveway or in front of a house? And if you want to do the walking group or the gardening group, then maybe we're going to start with, can we get together at somebody's house and do a thing first, right? Like, what's the first thing? This is a kind of a related story. There's a garden club. Gal told me she's in the garden club and they wanted to go out and weed the flower bed in one of the municipal flower beds. So they held their meeting, they served their refreshments, and they passed around the sign-up sheet for, okay, when can everybody come and help us weed the flower bed? And everybody came to the meeting, but no one could come help weed the flower bed. So the next meeting she scheduled at the flower bed and said, we're going to weed for 30 minutes. We're going to talk about our business. And then we're going to adjourn to the local place that serves ice cream and cake. Suddenly, everyone had plenty of time to come to the meeting. And they weeded the flower bed, those who could. And some people only could come for the ice cream and cake, and that was fine too. They could come for the ice cream and cake and talk then. But she didn't want to use up their energy meeting when they could be doing the thing they wanted to do. So, all right. The garden gap could help in each other's garden while we get to know each other better. Oh, so a little cul-de-sac. Oh, garden group. Got it. The little red hen mentality. Yes. See, just the little red hen story is so perfect for this kind of stuff. The gardening group could help in each other's garden while we get to know each other better. I see this is totally a social club, right? It's the social club that happens in the garden, because the old garden club that my grandmother and my great aunt belonged to have all but died out. But the come have a drink on under my sister's pergola and get to know each other, alive and well. Alive and well. All right. So let's go on and talk a little bit more about the take small steps. Take small steps. The old way to take small steps is to hold a meeting and write a plan, right? Those are the two small steps you can take. But the new way is to do something. This is your test. What can you do right away? Can you do even an online post to see whether people will like it and jump on the idea? Is there a temporary experiment? Okay, ping pong lessons, Friday, my house. All right, bring your own lawn chair. So what's really small version of something can you do? I visited Elkhart, Kansas, and there was a woman who said that she wanted to have one of those community dinners where you shut down the whole main street and you have a big long table all the way down the street. Elkhart is maybe under 2,000. I would say they're above 1,000. So they're kind of in the 1,000, 1,500 territory, and they are isolated. They're in very far Western Oklahoma with very, very sparse, or Western Kansas. It's a very sparse population area. And she wants to do this community dinner, table down the center of the street. Beautiful idea. Love the idea. And she said, I've been wanting to do this for 4 years. And I said, start this weekend with a card table and 2 friends, and do it on a sidewalk in front of one of your businesses or in a parking lot next to the main street. And then while you're doing that, talk about who you want, build the connections, talk about who you want to bring out to the next one. And who else has a card table? Who else can come? Bring your fried chicken. What do you make? I make a great salad, right? Like whatever it is. And so 1 card table to 2 card tables, eventually you'll get the whole street, but you have to start with 1 card table. Otherwise you spend 4 years wanting to do it. But if she starts with 1 card table, in 4 more years, will she have the whole main street closed down? Quite possibly. But she has to start with the 1 card table. So that's kind of a taking small steps story. Clay Shirky is an author, and he said that failure is free, high quality research offering direct evidence of what works and what doesn't. And that is one of the most popular quotes that we share, because we all try things that work and try things that don't work. So I'm going to toss this in the chat because I know some of y'all want to write this down. So this is when you can copy and paste to save, because it's okay for an idea to fail. If she holds her card table event, right, or April has National Night Out in front of her house with her card table and her friends and her salads, it may work and it may not work. It may be like David's other ideas before ping pong. They didn't work out, but that was just a process of learning what will work in his group of neighbors and how he can create fellowship. And so that's how you find out what works, is by trying something. The other quote that I love is one that came from a science educator in my town who saw me talking about changing trajectory of your town. He saw me talking about this on Twitter. And so, of course, I talked to this guy. I know this guy, but I've never met him, right? And he's in my town. And see, he teaches physics. And what he said was, if you want to change the trajectory of something, significant change will occur with minimal force if applied over an extended period of time. And I thought, oh, that's just such a sharp community and neighboring thing. Your little tiny thing may be the minimal force that's going to create significant change over an extended period of time. So better to do a little thing and do it over an extended period of time than to do one big thing and give up on it. So that's another one of our very popular quotes. So looking back at your big idea, your neighboring idea, so what is the small thing that you could take right away? Is there somebody that you need to call or text about this idea that you could do right now, right? Like pick up your phone, it's okay. The one time the teacher says, pick up your phone and send a text. Pick up and send a text right now to that neighbor that's going to come for the ping pong lessons, or April's neighbor who's going to come over and bring her table and chairs, right? Or whatever, who is the person that you can text to make things start happening right now. So you can do that right away. Now, for everyone who is just joining us, which there are a few of you, welcome. It's great to have you here. This is the idea-friendly method. These are the pieces that we have talked about. This is your opportunity to make a quick note of it, or you can grab a quick screenshot. That is fine, whatever it is. And this is also a great time to put your questions or comments in the chat, and we can talk about those. And I would love to talk some more about these ideas and what challenges. Now, David, you've said you have someone that's got a ping pong table, if you can fix a wheel. So the first text is who can fix the wheel, right? And get that going. Is there anybody that wants to tell me about your idea and something that's kind of holding you back? And we'll see if we can make a smaller way to make that happen. We can always come up with ideas as a group because we've got the group brains going here. I want to deploy them.
You're welcome to unmute yourself and share verbally or type it in chat, either one.
Ooh, Leslie's idea, propose composting to the homeowners association. I have no personal experience with HOAs because I live in a community of 30 people. We're not a town. So I get away with a lot here. Like I wanted to do composting. I just went, hey, I could do it right here where there's this kind of spot that nothing's going on, right? Like so now I dump my kitchen trash. It's kind of in my front yard. Don't tell anybody. It's behind a tree. They don't know. I put a pallet on one side. I mean, really, come on. So anybody have good stories about how you bring something up to the HOA to make it happen?
My experience at HOA meetings that I've been attending is they all talk about the same negative stories or negative problems over and over and over. And so if you're showing up with a proactive approach, a positive proactive idea, I think that in itself sets a different tone, sets
Absolutely.
it aside from what they normally are hearing. And
yeah, Joshua's got some input. So Josh, go ahead, or Joshua.
Thanks, Becky. This is Josh Johnson. I'm the Neighborhood Services Coordinator in Roanoke City, Virginia. We got 100,000 people, so it's a big community. One of the things that I've found, and I can never remember where I saw this, was they would have somebody in the community put a flamingo in their front yard. And so everybody knew that Friday that somebody would set up a table there and anybody can just stop on in, set up a chair and just have some community sense of little small thing. And so that's one thing I'm trying to do. One of the issues is obviously making sure that it's not advertised as a drinking event, a public drinking event. So that's one of the things that I've been trying to do, but with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Just one
Outside
of the
may
things I've
help.
kind of
The
put
fact
down.
that it's outside may give you a little
Yeah.
more leeway there.
Yeah.
And we'll hope
Yeah.
that the spring indications are that this spring may turn a little better.
Yeah, and fortunately, actually, one of the ladies, Sunny, who's been in a lot of these trainings, who recommended this, has a basement full of 30 flamingos. So
There's some building connections right there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everybody
So we
wants
got-
to know the lady with the basement full
we
of
physically
flamingos.
got the flamingos. It's just putting the plan in place. And I think that's kind of starting small. And, you know, if it's 3 or 4 people in the front yard, just getting to know each other, I think that's huge. So.
Yeah, as we
That's
said
one
earlier
value.
today, like if there's one other person, then it's a community event, as long as you've got two. I want to go back to Leslie's idea on that composting. Wasn't it Leslie's idea? Yes, Leslie's nodding, so it must be not having an HOA as an advantage. I totally agree. But I wonder about the HOA, about proposing composting. If you have a location in mind, if it's possible, like the garden club, if it's possible to take them to the composting location to have the discussion about composting, that may help change the discussion, because in the room where the HOA meets, like David was saying, the HOA goes over the same negative issues over and over and over. So negativity kind of seeps into the walls in that room they meet in. So you need to take them out to even the compost is more positive than the meeting room where the HOA always meets. Same with city councils. Never take an idea to the city council at the city council chambers, make them leave the room, make them go to the place. So I would start with that. And then the other thing that I have found that works with like boards and commissions and may work with HOAs is kids. If kids are involved, the adults are faster to agree, especially if the kids of the people on the commission or the board or the committee. So if the directors of the HOA, if their kids get started on a school composting project, then it's maybe a little easier to talk them into it. The other thing is temporary, to say this is, we want to start on this as a pilot project. It will be here, it will be small, it will be whatever, and promise it as temporary and say, can we try this as a pilot project, as opposed to we want permanent approval, we want to change the rules right now. Say, what can we get approval to temporarily do this for one growing season and see how it goes. Involve the kids, get out of the meeting room. Those are, I think that would be how I would propose to the HOA on the compost plan. All right, so let me see if I've missed anything else in the chat. Probably so. Okay, so all right, no HOA. April says her mom, did you have something to say, April? Is this about your mom?
Yeah, I was just going to say she was, for almost 2 years, she was in the house by herself, and she said she just couldn't take it anymore. So it just so happened the man across the street from me was moving down to Atlanta. And so he was to be closer to his daughters because he was getting older and told us he's selling his house. My mom swooped in, bought the house, had it remodeled real quick, and she's living across the street from me. So she would be the perfect person to come out. Let's eat outside. Let's set up tables and turn some music on to get started with. So I got a plan now. Thank you. I would have never thought of that till you told me.
So you start with that. It's you and mom, right? And then you say, hey, National Neighbors Night Out is coming up. We want to grow our way up to that. So, who's going to come join us next time? And who's going to join us the time after that? Absolutely. And then you're just going to grow your way up there. And then when is National Neighbors Night Out?
October usually.
Oh gosh, so you're going to, that chart we showed, like where it builds up, right? Like, so you have the excitement at the bottom, we're going to build our way to October. It's going to be great. going to be great.
Thank you for that. That helped me so much. I wrote all that down.
All right, we got it. Okay. Any last questions? I know we've got a little bit more time, but I need to leave some time for David to do his long wrap up and soliloquy at the end. I promised him I'd take 40 minutes, and I have like a 3-4 minute thing I want to share with you. So I've got 1 or 2 minutes that we can talk about somebody else's idea and fix everything for you. The cat.
I want to say something. I'm Sue, and if you think that you don't have community or think that you don't have connections, you could start at the bottom with a small step, and you would be surprised if you live on a park or at people's windows. You are reaching people if they just look out their window and see you, and you have a connection you may not know. I have participated in things where we got out and did something, maybe 1 or 2 people, and other people told us they saw it. And then the next time they came. And you don't know if someone's in their window mirroring you while you do your Tai Chi out there by yourself. And so that also is possible, to take the step and then enjoy the connection that you've made.
Sue, that's awesome. That's be conspicuous, doing your thing in public. It's also gathering
Yes.
your crowd. It's so much easier to join your crowd if you see that somebody else has started something. So, we drove
Yes.
that curve of motivation. So you and your friends got out there and started on Tai Chi, and then people who are less motivated will join in.
Yes, maybe
But
even
wouldn't
in
start.
their window.
Maybe
And then
even in their
later
window.
they'll tell
Absolutely.
you about it. But I heard something like that at a neighboring 101 thing where they said, when you're serving lemonade and you have your table, put it in the driveway. Don't put it in the back and have extra lemonade. And it's the same kind of thing. And I'm going to mute myself now because
Oh, those are
I'm
great
talking
ideas.
and talking and I need to be muted.
Those were great ideas, Sue. That's a good point. Put your thing out front. So you've reminded me of 2 great stories I want to share really super quick. One is, and this kind of relates to the event email newsletter, which I will say somebody just recently told me text. See if you can also set up a text version of that as well. So see if somebody's got build connections, and do you find somebody that can text it also? The event email newsletter. Anytime you do an event, if there's a table or you're doing something conspicuous in public, you're doing your Tai Chi, post something that says everyone welcome. Because otherwise we think it's closed. We just presume we're not invited unless you say you're invited, everyone's welcome, open to the public, please join us, right? Like be seriously obvious about the fact that it's open. So a sign really helps because people won't ask. The second was a story about a woman that came up with, she got a big, like a storage tub, like you store your stuff in. She bought used kids' outdoor toys at the yard sales for 50 cents. She filled up her tub full of toys. She drags it out to the city park that's right across the street from her. Each morning she drags it out, opens it up, and leaves it with a sign that says, play with these toys and put them back. And then she goes around at the end of the day and picks up toys and puts them away. So even if you didn't want to do that every day, what a cool little tiny neighboring project I wanted to pass on. I heard that at the National Main Street Conference. Okay. And then I'm going to wrap up. Okay. Is that all right, David?
Yeah, it's great. As long, and if people have questions, I mean, we can keep going, but sure, wrap up is fine. It's been great. It's been great. There's a lot to digest here.
Well, and we may go a little longer after, but let me go ahead and give you these 2 things I want you to know before I go. And one is, you don't have to know all the answers. You just have to be open to new ideas. Iowa State University actually did a study of 99 small towns over a period of 20 years. And so as you can imagine, in that time, those 99 towns, some of them experienced every kind of change. So some of them lost a manufacturer, others gained a new business, some of them lost a school, others had big growth in their schools, and some of them got hit by natural disasters. So what the researchers concluded at the end of 20 years was that no matter what happened or didn't happen in those towns, the ones that prospered the best were the ones that were open to new ideas. So being open to new ideas. And I want to share with you something that I made for small towns and that I love, and that you might like as well, and maybe a good tool for you in your communities. This is my idea friendly creed. And this is just the first part of it, but it says, we are a community of possibilities, not of problems. We are the action takers. We are optimistic. It's not about what this town used to be. We are starting right where we are. We have people and assets right now. We don't need another committee or another plan. We take action right away. We create the moments that show what this town could be, even if it only lasts a little while. It does not have to be permanent to create possibility. We don't care about titles or who holds official positions. The people who hold titles may not think like us, and that's okay. No one can stop us from doing the little things that really matter. And we would rather help 10 people try their own ideas than to hold a vote and pick one winner. Voting may be more efficient, but efficiency isn't our goal. Community is our goal, and we try everyone's ideas. We don't let statistics and negative reports beat us up. Those numbers are nothing but a snapshot in time. What we do next is up to us. We are not changing our town to attract other people. We are valuing all the people who are here now, creating the future of our town together. That means everyone, every single one. People of all ages, all backgrounds, all incomes, people who are new in town and families who have been here for generations. All of us have ways of doing things, culture, and gifts to share. We all want a thriving town with a future for generations. We thrive by doing more business together. We celebrate the entrepreneurs and business people, the dreamers, makers, and artists, the experimenters, performers, and crafters, the bakers and upcyclers and junkers, people who sell in booths and homes, people with businesses and parking lots and trucks. Together we prosper right here where we are. We have everything we need. We are creating the community we want, one small step at a time. Welcome to an idea-friendly town. So you can get a copy of that at savior.town or ideafriendly.com, actually. But I wanted to make sure I got a chance to share that because it's one of the things that's just very close to my heart. Obviously, you can get that. It's a poster size thing that you can print as large as your printer will print. You can write your town name on there or your neighborhood name, your block name, and hang it up where people see it so that they go that. Leslie asks, how do you get the little library that you see in different neighborhoods? You make your own. And so you need nobody's permission. You just get a box, you put some books in it, like a cardboard box or a Rubbermaid tote, put the books in it, put a sign that says free books, and then you have a little free library. Then you can dress it up from there. I've seen them all kinds of dressy, beautiful ways, but the essence is a place to put books that people can come and take. And that's really that. So really, you don't need anything more than the books in a container. Actually, you could put them on the sidewalk. I really don't care. Somebody will get upset at the HOA, but I'm saying the cuter you make it, the more likely your HOA will approve. And there are all kinds of plans online. And one thing that I've noticed about little libraries is people who like books like to make them. And so book clubs are great sources of people who like books and might help with something like a little library project. One of the coolest ones I saw was done in an old phone booth that somebody got their hands on, put some shelves in. So yeah, you just do it.
Yeah. So you gather your crowd, you have someone else who's enthusiastic about this idea of little libraries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You build connections,
build club connections.
Friends.
Yep.
So maybe you have some books you can set out in a Rubbermaid, as you mentioned, kind of get the idea going.
Yeah.
Then you build a connection with somebody who maybe is a woodworker.
There we go.
And can make you a fancier box on a pole.
Yeah.
So you've really elevated to the next level. Maybe Is there a step for gathering the crowd, or that kind of gathers its own crowd through?
Well, see, that was
involvement?
when we built our connections to the book club. Also, by putting the books out there, there's that can be conspicuous in public thing. When we set our box with our books and our little sign, that's conspicuous doing our thing in public. And it says, have any questions? Hashtag little library, name of town, name of neighborhood. Tag me and I'll answer you, right? And then you're getting that conversation going. So they don't even have to, like Sue was saying, people see you out their window. People will see you as they drive by. And so you want to give them a way that they can connect with you in a non-threatening way. So that might be that even a hashtag will work where you can answer them online.
Becky, when I first heard of you and got familiar with your emails that you send out and that people can subscribe to at your website, and started reading some about your idea-friendly method, it was just about that same time that we had some new neighbors move in with young children. And in the course of conversation, this was at the start of the summer, they said something about, is there a kids parade around here for 4th of July? The town they moved from had one. And they said, our kids always look forward to that. Is there anything like that? I said, no, there's not. But we have a park close by. Would you be interested in helping see if we can pull one of those off? So I tried to, so that was gathering the crowd. It took this small idea. I wasn't going to try and blow it up like this is for the whole town or everybody come, just make it the neighborhood. And I was thinking, well, I know they have 3 kids, so we're gonna have at least 3 kids involved. So we put up a little sign in the park. We tried to keep it simple just to be able to manage it. And plus, and even the day when we were taking some things down to the park where we were going to have the parade, my wife said, well, how many people are you expecting? Are you going to be disappointed? And I'm like, well, I know we've got 3 coming because of the neighbor has 3 kids. And if they have a good time, then, that's great. Well, we had 54 kids come with decorated wagons and bikes and dressed up. And we had more spectators than that because there were grandparents and other people that showed up with lawn chairs to watch these kids go around the trail and the park and stuff. So if I had been thinking about that type of crowd, I might not have committed to do it, So that's the other advantage of this idea-friendly method. And at the same time, if only 3 kids had shown up, then I wouldn't have felt like just a complete and utter failure because my efforts had, had no result. So I think it's win-win on both sides. Yeah. And now, because we had such interest, we actually have some people that have come along and said they want to help this year, or they want to, buy some ribbons and do some things like that. So it's a win at either end. If it's a success or if it's a failure, taking this idea-friendly approach is a win-win.
Absolutely. So if you think back to that curve of how motivated people are, you take your enthusiasm, the enthusiasm of those 3 kids who really loved the parade in their old neighborhood, they form the foundation. And what can we add on top of that that's going to give more people ways, even small ways, to participate? Even the person who wants to buy you some ribbons, right? Like, that's great. That's participation. We're totally in for that. And I love the fact that over 40 kids turned out. It's an awesome success, but it would have been also a success at 3 or 5 kids that you made a special day for them.
Yes. So it's a little shift in our mindset. And I know sometimes with things like that, I get a little frustrated when everyone doesn't share my same level of enthusiasm for it. and so I'm learning from your example, and even from what you shared today, I don't need to go into it expecting everyone to have my same shared level of enthusiasm. That's an impossibility, and damaging the project probably if I enter it with that sort of mindset. So, well, we're wrapping up right here on the 1 hour, and we want to be good stewards of everyone's time, and especially of Becky, who has shared with us today. And please visit her website. She shared that in chat. You can sign up for her email and the other things that go out. It really is good, useful information for a community or a neighborhood at all. And I think you'll find it useful. And appreciate you being online with us today, Becky. And it's great to have made this connection and partnership.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you everyone who was brave and shared your stories and questions and ideas, because I'm going to be talking about April and her mom from now on.
Good on April. Hey, we'll look forward to next month. The February session is going to be Sarah Johnson. She's a neighborhood project coach with what's called the Hopeful Neighborhood in St. Louis, Missouri, is where it's based. It's sort of a collaborative network of people who are committed to improving their neighborhood well-being. And so she's going to kind of outline for us what it means to be a hopeful neighborhood, what their network is about. She focuses a lot on, and I heard hints of this from Becky today, asset-based community development. Looking at the assets of your community, not the complaints, the negative, oh, this is the same problem we've talked about for years, but looking at the assets to move forward. So that's kind of her approach. And we'll look forward to learning more about the Hopeful Neighborhood and asset-based community development next month when we meet again. Thank you, everyone.